Now, hunting a buck scrape can be a whole lot of fun. We're actually sitting on one tonight, Dylan and I. But I don't take hunting a scrape lightly, and you just don't hunt any scrape in the woods. First point here, nothing random. Why is a buck visiting a scrape? It's kind of his territory. You can see when the rut is picking up, bucks are moving around, leaving their scent in these scrapes. It's a form of communication. And we'll talk about that form of communication here in a little bit. You'll see these pick up. We see scrapes being used the entire year, and that's how you know that deer are communicating that way, and it's important to them. It's part of their daily patterns, and it should be a part of their daily patterns. Sitting over a scrape can be incredible, but there's good scrapes to sit on and there's bad scrapes to sit on, and I want to help teach you the difference and teach you some of the scrapeisms that help you find success right now in the deer woods, because scrapes are popping, it's the rut, and it's time. So make sure you follow this scrape advice. For one, nothing random. What do I mean by that? For one, if you find a scrape out in the woods, big scrape, what does it mean? What does it link to? Was it a mature buck, just like a rub? Because bucks, most rubs in the woods are visited 1, 2, 3 times by a buck, and that's it. So if you're hunting a big rub, you can stir it up for days, and that one buck that made that rub is gone. He's never coming back. Scrape can be that way. So when you look at a scrape in the woods, is this a part of a daily pattern that you've already figured out? Is it the inside corner of a woods or a field? Meaning the field, you're in this inside corner. In the woods, you're in cover. You're in that X of movement where deer are going between bedding areas, between bedding and food. Why is that scrape there? Because it's going to be on some type of travel route that a buck frequents, and those are the best kind of scrapes. There's all kinds of scrapes around bedding areas. There's all kinds of scrapes around staging areas. But those staging areas are impossible to hunt because there's usually does bedded around them. That's that last spot before an afternoon food source that a buck will visit, that he feels secure in cover coming from his bedding area. Sometimes that's a long ways back in the woods because he doesn't feel secure going through open cover, open hardwoods, or hunters have pushed those woods or spoiled those woods. So those scrapes are a long ways back. Those staging areas are tough to hunt. Again, that's that last form of safe cover that he feels secure at before he enters a food source. Could be on public or private land. And then there's lots of scrapes in the bedding area where he just gets up, he's moving 20 feet, makes a scrape and gets back down. I'm talking about runway scrapes, funnel scrapes, where you have a constriction of woods coming down, an inside corner. It's a connection between bedding areas on a bench or a thin strip of cover, a fence row that connects 2 giant bedding areas out in Kansas somewhere, or some open area in Iowa, some area in lower Michigan where you have not a lot of cover, but there's this giant scrape between bedding areas. You know that buck because he has good cover that he can walk through and he's not exposed. He's gonna hit that scrape. So I'm looking at nothing random. There has to be a reason for that scrape, not that it's just worked. Obviously no buck's there, you get really excited. I made so many of these mistakes back in the 80s and 90s, where I see a giant scrape, a giant rub, and you think, well, he's coming back. But it was on the edge of a field. That's a big no-no. It's something that you have to make sure of where these are at. And number 2, that's why you consider a scrape. Would you hang a stand here? That should be, you're considering hanging a stand here because it's a funnel, because it's between bedding areas, because it's a bedding area, between a bedding area and a food source, because it's on the outside of a bedding area, and a buck's gonna cruise that, scent checking the outside of a bedding area that has does at it, does frequent. Maybe it's on the way to a water hole, something. It's a connection of something that you are going to hang your stand there anyways to watch, and then there's a big scrape. And so that's what we're watching tonight. We're watching a bedding area. It's between bedding areas. It's on the outside rim of a bowl where bucks cruise, and there's a big giant scrape that's there that we're gonna watch. I'd say it's 4 feet in diameter, and it's picked clean of leaves, and multiple bucks are hitting it. Not a lot during the daylight, but quite a few, and enough to be close to daylight, and enough monsters that it's gonna make us wanna sit there. But we're hanging a stand there already. The scrape is just a bonus. That's why we're hunting it. So you're not just hunting something random just because of the scrape. There has to be a lot more into it. Number 3, scent use is greater than scraping. What that means is, when a buck comes to a scrape, you'll see, well, they're not using the scrapes, there's leaves on it. They don't always take their toes and their hooves, and they don't take that and clear that out. That's when they're being very aggressive. That's when it's in the pre-rut. A lot of times when they're just going through and checking it, they're leaving their preorbital gland around their nose and their eyes. They're rubbing it on the licking branch. We use vertical vines, mock scrape, something I developed years ago, and it works. It works really well. We're not adding scent. Number 4, they're adding scent. I'm not adding scent on top of what they're adding. That would just wash it away. The best mock scrape or scent attraction that you could add is letting the deer do it themselves. Let 20 deer go by, add their scent on that licking branch. You don't need to do it. Let them do it. And that's where you're going to find success. And the worst thing you could do, let's say you find a great scrape out on public land, private land, wherever you're hunting, it's a connection, it's in a funnel, it's a great spot to hang a stand, and then people will go spray something on it or put some gel on it, put some dust on it, whatever it might be. The worst thing you could do, it's already active, deer already hitting it, probably multiple bucks. The worst thing you could do is add some scent thinking you're going to make it better when it's already as good as it can be. There's really nothing out there, I believe, that I've ever found that can be better than the natural scent and scent and attraction that will be left by actual deer themselves. Number 5, what we do, this is a great spot for a stand. There's a reason for we're putting it, so we add a scrape. Check out my mock scrape playlist on this channel. They're all my videos describing my mock scrapes, about 40 videos long and counting. And that's why when you see these bucks rubbing these vertical branches hanging down, they're vertical vines. You can use oak branches, jack pines, use a tree or a branch, something they use naturally in your area. If you have grapevines, use those, but we're using 3/4 inch to 1 inch in diameter, 5 to 8 feet long. We're hanging them about waist high at the bottom. We're hanging them by a rope so they freely swing. And we're making sure there's a camera stand or a camera spot nearby, and we're making sure there's a tree stand next to it. So if you don't have one, add one. We have one at every tree stand. A lot of people say, how many scrapes should I have on my property? One at every stand location. If there's one 50, 60 yards away that's leading deer away from that stand location, I cut it down. More mock scrapes is not a good thing. You want them all coming into that one right in front of your stand. So if you don't have one, make one. The stand location, and the reason the stands are in the first place, trumps a scrape that's already there. Just add one. Now you just enhance that location with that mock scrape. And there's a really tried and true way to make that. I've already mentioned that. How to do that. It has to be a flat spot. You're making sure it's at least 4 or 5 feet away from any tree or brush. Besides, it's a big open spot. It's right on the trail. Just check out the mock scrape playlist. And that's why you see all the B-roll footage of these bucks coming in. Dylan puts in there as he's laying over right now, I'm sure, showing you these big bucks coming in and hitting those scrapes. And finally, a nice scrape, a good scrape between everything. You go out on public land, hanging, you're a hanging hunt stand. This time of the year during the rut, when you go out on public land, if you don't have a scrape nearby, and it's not within that funnel of movement out on public land, I'd probably go look for something else. That either is telling you there's no bucks in the area, or they're not in the area you're at. Because if it's during the rut and you're on public land, you should have some type of quality scrape, or at least a scrape, to let you know that this is indeed a route that mature bucks are cruising on during the rut. That's why you're gonna hang your stand there in the first place. You're verifying it with sign. I like rubs or travel routes. So if you have rubs in that area, it doesn't matter if they're fresh or old, I'm not really concerned about that. It's letting you know that bucks are cruising that area on that line you already thought. A collection of years of old sign is great, but that fresh scrape can tell you this is where you hang your stand on public land. It can be a public land hotspot, let alone on some big private parcel that you just got permission on, you're going out to hunt for the first time. Great spot to hang and hunt, as long as it's not random and it matches in with a pre-existing hunting strategy that you already had made up in your head to watch this area and the reason you're in that area in the first place to look. So enjoy hunting scrapes. It's that time of the year. Just don't mess it up. Sneak in there, watch it from the downwind side. Try to make sure your downwind is covered up. Approach by walking around the scrape, not leaving your scent. I always like to have clean boots, clean legs, and you can get around that scrape very easily. If anything, just avoid spooking that scrape out. Look for a great scrape and great cover, and enjoy hunting a scrape this fall and every fall beyond, and especially right now during the rut. I want to make sure you check out my web class video series, whether it's how to design your food plot program or how to design your property in general. And we have a new one coming out that'll be how to hunt the rut. But these bucks back here are a testament. Some of these bucks go back to 93. They're even in different states. I urge you to check out those web classes that you can help yourself, help your land, help your hunt. The link is in the description. And also for those that have tried them out, I encourage you to offer some feedback in the comments below. Thank you.